Hello everyone, and thank you for joining us, or me, for this video on surface observations. Specifically, we're going through METARs right now. And this video will cover the remarks section. The remarks section can be broken down into two different groups. The first group, or first category, are those remarks that are automated, manual, and plain language. And the second group is additive and automated maintenance data. Now, the METARs have a very specific sequence for the remarks. And if you become a certified weather observer, you have to memorize this sequence. Some things are very important, they come up first, and other things are not so important and they come up last. But this is the order of remarks. You don't need to memorize this. You should be able to decode remarks, however. So the automated, manual, and plain language remarks basically tell you more information about what's in the main body of the METAR. So it starts out, we'll go through some of this. They have authorized contractions and also abbreviations and symbols that they use. And whenever you see a time, usually it's minutes after the hour. Sometimes they'll put in the whole hour if it happened right before the top of the hour. You'll see that sometimes. So let's go through, step through, piece by piece, some of the remarks that you may see. One of the remarks you'll see is the type of automated station. Stations can be AWAS or ASOS stations. In other words, automated stations, and those automated stations may or may not have different types of equipment. One piece of equipment that is often missing from the AWAS stations is precipitation discrimination, meaning can it tell if it's snowing or raining or not at the station. If it is an AO2 station, it has a precipitation discriminator. And a precipitation discriminator means that it can tell if it's raining or snowing. If it's an AO1, it means it doesn't have precipitation discrimination, and you're not sure if that station has rain or snow or not at that location. Looking at some plain language remarks, volcanic eruptions always come first in the remarks section. And they are spelled out explicitly, volcanic eruption. Also, if there's any kind of tornadic activity, whether it be a waterspout, funnel cloud, or tornado, those are also spelled out. Peak winds need to be decoded, and those are put in the remarks section. They are abbreviated PKWND to indicate its peak wind. They give you the direction and speed of the wind. So the wind is from 200 degrees in this example at 32 knots. And then finally the time that occurred. In this case it happened 25 minutes after the hour. Other things you'll see are wind shifts. These are good for or helpful for meteorologists, helps us identify where there are fronts. In this case you see WSHFT wind shift happened 15 minutes after the hour. And then FROPA indicates frontal passage. Other things that you'll see, plain language remarks, variable prevailing visibility, and this is if the visibility is going up and down during the observation time, and what they'll do is they'll give you the maximum and minimum visibility that was recorded. In this case, the visibility is 3/4 of a mile, but variable to 1 1/2. That's the prevailing visibility. In the main body of the METAR, you will see the prevailing visibility that can be used for legal purposes for flying. Other things, you'll see sector visibility. Sector visibility is put in if the visibility in one region, typically about 45 degrees of the horizon, if it's lower or higher than the surroundings by one category. So in this case, they're saying the visibility to the north is 2 miles, and perhaps the surrounding sectors, the visibility may be 3 or 4 miles or something like that. Tower or surface visibility, we'll talk more about this when we get to the IFR section of this class. But if the visibility is 4 miles or less, and there is a difference between what the control tower is reporting and the surface or the ASOS or AWAS machine is reporting, that there's a difference between those two, they'll put in the one that is the highest in the remarks section. And you don't have to worry too much about that right now. We cover that in more detail in the IFR lectures. Also, if there is visibility reported at a second site, sometimes they have a transmissometer or something else that's measuring visibility, and they'll tell you that. In this case, they're saying visibility is 3/4 a mile along runway 11. Lightning is very important. It tells you where there are thunderstorms. So they always put lightning in the remarks section when they see it. And they will put the frequency, type, and location of the lightning. So the first is frequency, and frequency is how often lightning strikes. And weather observers actually have to go out and count the lightning strikes per minute and hopefully not get struck by lightning. So if they see lightning that is less than 1 flash per minute, then they will record it as occasional. If it's between 1 to 6 flashes per minute, it's frequent. And if it's more than 6 flashes per minute, then it's continuous lightning. The type of lightning also needs to be reported, and that would be either IC for in cloud, CG for cloud to ground, CC for cloud to air, and then finally CA, where the lightning strike is just occurring in the air, cloud to air, which is very similar to a sprite, I guess. But you'll see very frequently these combine. You might see IC, CG, and CC all together. The location of the lightning strikes also needs to be reported. If it's within 5 miles, you'll see overhead. If it's between 5 to 10 miles from the airport, then it's vicinity. And anything more than 10 miles is considered distant. And 10 to 30 miles, but sometimes they report it more than 30 miles. Here are several examples, and you can see the first one, occasional, which means less than 1 lightning strike per minute. So occasional lightning cloud to ground to distant northeast, which means more than 10 miles to the northeast. Frequent means between 1 to 6 lightning strikes per minute. So frequent lightning in cloud, cloud to ground, and cloud to cloud overhead, which means it's within 5 miles of the airport. And then continuous, which means more than 6 lightning strikes per minute. Continuous lightning in cloud in the vicinity. Vicinity would be between 5 to 10 miles from the airport. A lot of times when it's the vicinity, they will also tell you the direction around the airport. They may put in southwest or northeast or something like that. Other things they'll put in the plain language is the beginning and ending of precipitation or thunderstorms. And this is always minutes after the hour. So examples here, TSB 20 means thunderstorm began 20 minutes after the hour and ended 44 minutes after the hour. RAE means rain ended 50 minutes after the hour. And SNB means snow began at 12:54 and ended at 41 minutes after the hour. If there is lightning, there must be a thunderstorm, so they'll typically report thunderstorms also in addition to lightning. And thunderstorms, if they are reported overhead, that means they're within 5 miles of the airport. Thunderstorms vicinity between 5 to 10 miles, and thunderstorms distant means more than 10 miles and out to 30 or perhaps more. If there's a thunderstorm, they also have to report the direction that the thunderstorm is moving. In this case, the first example, thunderstorm is overhead, which means within 5 miles, and it's moving to the north. The second example says the thunderstorm is distant south, which means 10 to 30 miles to the south, and it's moving to the north. Also, if there's hail at the airport, the weather observer needs to go outside and measure the size of the hail, regardless whether it's falling. They need to wear a helmet and go out and measure it with a ruler. And hailstones are reported as GR. That's the METAR contraction for hail. In this case, they're measured in the diameter in inches. So here you have 1 3/4 of an inch. Virga is really important. It usually gives you an indication that there may be microbursts, so Virga will be reported. And Virga is precipitation that is falling, but the precipitation evaporates before it hits the ground. So in this example, they're saying Virga is to the southwest. If the ceiling is going up and down, then they will also report that. And in this case, you see the ceiling is reported as 1,300 variable 1,700. Remember that ceilings are always reported as altitude above the ground or feet above the ground. And they give you kind of the average in the main body of the METAR. And then obscurations are not reported as much anymore, but they can put those in. That's if the sky is hidden by some obscuring phenomena such as fog, volcanic ash, or smoke. And they'll tell you how much of the sky is covered using the contractions few, scattered, broken, or overcast. And then they'll tell you the base of the obscuration. If it's 000, it means it's touching the ground. In this case, the last one, smoke, is broken at 2,000, so smoke is above the ground. Also, if the sky is variable, they'll tell you the sky condition, either few, scattered, broken, or overcast. In this case, the first example, it's scattered, variable, broken. A second example, broken at 2,500, variable, overcast. And then significant clouds are included, and they can include altocumulus castellanus, cumulonimbus, towering cumulus, and altocumulus standing lenticulars. Those are the only clouds that they can report. Also, if there's a ceilometer at a second site at the airport, they may have another ceiling, and they can report that. You see that example. And then pressure rising rapidly and pressure rising, falling rapidly is more for meteorologists, but also it tells pilots of weather systems that are moving. More plain language data, they will also include sea level pressure, and you've probably seen this from Atmospheric Science 110 or other meteorology classes that you've taken, where they give you a contraction SLP telling you sea level pressure, and then you have to add a 10 or a 9 to the beginning of those numbers to get the pressure in millibars closest to the nearest tenth of a millibar. Usually it's pretty close to 1,000, so you use your own judgment to figure out that. If they don't report sea level pressure, you may see SLP no. And then the last plain language data is aircraft mishap. If there's an aircraft mishap, they will put it in the METAR remarks section, but it will not be transmitted. And then last, you'll see LAST if it is the last observation that is augmented. If there are no specials, you may see no special, but you don't see that very often. And then snow increasing tells you how fast the snow is increasing. In this case, 3 inches per hour, and the 17 indicates that there's 17 inches of snow on the ground. And that is the end of the first part of remarks. We'll get into the other remarks in another video.